It was really a turning point in my life. Poster was right there on the top of my desk. We had a very simple sundown rule. It was the world's smallest retailer. So you have got this flip in your brain. You're a little bit cracked. Freedom is the most important virtue of human existence. ना वक्त आपको दूंगा और फिर उसके साथ आप फुटबॉल खेलो, पीपीटी बना रहे हो बैठ के, तो क्यों बना रहे हो? This is criminal waste of my existence on the planet. It's a beautiful definition by Irfankhan, the actor, in one of the interviews he was said. And so I'll say something controversial, maybe a little bit. He says the three biggest addictions in the world are.
How is it working with food aggregators like Zomato, Swiggy?
There's a good aspect to it and there's a very bad aspect to it. कि यार अगर 5 साल आप प्रोडक्ट शिप कर रहे हो और आपको यही नहीं पता कि मेरा प्रोडक्ट कौन खरीदता है, प्रॉब्लम है ना? A mind that wants to die inside a body that wants to live. That's the only celebrity I follow on any social media. Only one celebrity. Focus.
From my college days, I've always wanted to start a restaurant. Not sure what format or what cuisine, but my dream has always been to start one restaurant. The estimate from the National Restaurant Association that 80% of restaurants shut down in 5 years was a setback for me. That got me into researching more about restaurants. That's when I picked up a book called Beyond the Menu. It's a restaurant startup guide. I read it and it seemed to be covering all aspects of the restaurant business, from how do you plan for a restaurant, how do you end up finalizing a location, what kind of layout should you plan for, how do you even plan for menu, recruiting team, branding, marketing, sales. The best part is it also talks about how should one handle a restaurant during recession. It seems to be a comprehensive guide. Having read this book, I was thinking, why can't I talk to a practitioner? This book has been written by Ravi Wazir, who's been in the industry for 3 decades, and he comes up with a lot of experience. I could not meet him in person, so I am here today with Rajnish, who runs a profitable restaurant called Rumi. Rumi Restaurant is based out of 12th Main Road in Indiranagar. So let's explore everything about restaurant business in this conversation. Hi, Rajnish.
Great to have you. Yeah, always.
Sir, now that I was just telling you that restaurant business is not as easy as it seems, I wanted to talk to you to understand everything possible about the restaurant business. Why did you start and so on and so forth.
Sure.
But before getting in there, I wanted to know more about your corporate journey. Where did you start from? If you could talk about your Walmart experience.
Walmart, I came to Bangalore to join Walmart, and they were starting their global procurement office here in Bangalore, and it was 2001. And it was really a turning point in my life because the scale of Walmart, at which they operate, and the processes that they have, they really kind of set the fundamentals right for me. Simple things like respect for individual, which many times I find in daily life is missing. Somebody is waiting, you don't care for them waiting outside for you. You're given some time to somebody, you don't care. Those kind of things. And then striving for excellence is not just a 3-letter phrase. For them, like every time, every small thing that you do, you are seeing, is there a better way to do it? Right? So I basically entire business that I do, whatever business I've done, whether within ITC or Walmart or what I do now, is based on three basic principles that I learned at Walmart. And this was ingrained in me so deeply because this poster was right there on the top of my desk. Right? And it's to say some three simple principles: create the value, demonstrate the value, and deliver the value. I'll tell you, it is as simple as it sounds. You'll find it missing in every day when you look at businesses. You talked about restaurants being closed down and businesses closing
Shutting
down. In every life, when people are doing job also, they are not able to successfully complete the projects and so on and so forth.
Right.
But if you look at it so simple, first of all, build the value or create the value. Because in the end, the customer is going to reward you for your hard work, right? So whatever you have created as a value or built as a value, the customer is going to discover that, right? And once they discover, A, they will keep on repeating and coming back to you, and B, they will also tell others. So unless and until there is a value, simple question है यार, डॉक्टर ने थोड़ी बोला बिजनेस करने के लिए क्यों कर रहे हो? What is the why of your business, right? So that is build the value. Then once you build the value, you need to tell a lot of people about that value, which is the simple words again, demonstrate the value. You can call it marketing, you can call it sales, you can call it whatever fancy jargon you want to call. But in the end, it's about telling people that, hey, I've got something of value here. Why don't you come and have a look? And if you like it, buy it. Got it. But once you have that promise, on your marketing or sales or whatever you're amplifying the whole message, once the moment of truth comes and somebody buys your product, then you have to deliver the value. Right. You can't say that I'm selling gold, and then when somebody buys, it's not even bronze or not gold, right? So you can't kind of shortchange. Right. So if you have these three principles in place, build the value, demonstrate the value, and deliver the value, I think these are the three principles of doing business. Apart from that, there's nothing else. The other thing I learned, that time it was a world's largest company, probably right now also in the top three, was that the scale at which you operate. So you have people and processes. Within people and processes, you always choose processes you to scale, because people may or may not be there tomorrow, or people behave every morning in a different way, but the process will be the same. And if you have a process, you can tell everybody to follow the same process. Otherwise, everybody has a different process for themselves. Now, if you have a different process for everybody, the biggest problem for the management or somebody who's running the business from the top, how do you measure? Because everybody has their own parameters of success and performance and execution. So process, being such a large organization, process becomes very, very important. Sorry. Yeah. I've also heard about work ethics wise, Walmart was far ahead. Yeah. Heard that people don't respond to mails on time. Yeah. There are severe consequences. Yeah. Is it true? So again, we had a very simple sundown rule. Sundown rule is very simple. It was created by Sam Walton. I learned a lot from him reading his book. Otherwise, also following all the principles in the 5-6 years I was there. The sundown rule is very simple. It says that before you go down or you go out of your office or the sun goes down, you have to respond to every email or every request that lands on your table, right? Whether it's from a customer, whether it's from a fellow associates, whether it's from a vendor, you cannot ignore anything. If you cannot respond, it's not possible always to respond to everything. So you give a timeline. Hey, I'll come back to you on Thursday, on Wednesday, on Friday by this time. But everything should be finished. So simple things like that. And see, what I see a lot of companies failing in is that they try to kind of have these posters, these manuals, and this and that. But it is the culture. Right. In our families, do you have a written manual? Do you have a book? No. But everybody does what is right for the family, right? If you have to go, let's say you have to book a ticket to Delhi for 4 of you, right? And your family, 4 people. You will obviously go to 3 different websites, check 4 different airlines, and then book not only the ticket which is the cheapest, but also in terms of the most convenient timing. Right. So you will try to derive the maximum value from the transaction. Right. Why can't you do this when you're doing for the company? Is there has to be a rule book? Do you need a manual for doing this thing? When you go there, if you're getting a cab for, let's say, 2,000 rupees, and versus a 1,600 rupees from a different vendor, it's a good cab. You will take that, you will take something else, right? Absolutely. Now, these are the things we follow every day in our life because there is no rule. We want the best for the family. And therefore, if you want the best for the organization, and everybody wants the best for the organization, it's the culture. And you can only and only drive these things in a large company through culture. If you could talk us through your ITC experience. Yeah, so ITC was a big change. Let me begin by saying this because I used to joke because Walmart was the world's largest retailer, and when I joined ITC in Chopal Sagar, which was a retail format, it was the world's smallest retailer. So it was a big change for me, and also culturally, working for a company like Walmart, which is very very US, not US in the sense of what is there in New York or what is there in Los Angeles, something which is very very traditional US, right? So that those values, that culture is very, very different from what you see in movies, right?
Yeah.
So coming from that culture, being trained in that environment for 5-6 years, India is very, very different. And especially ITC, it's like 110-year-old, it's got its own history. And so, honestly speaking, it was kind of a shock in the beginning. The way the meetings were held. Everybody has their own time. The meeting starts at 2 o'clock, will go till 2 o'clock in the night. All the things were happening. The hierarchy which was being followed and all that. So, it felt little odd to me. But then I realized that it has its own value, you know it's more of a family kind of an environment, and that's what, people respect each other, not only because of the hierarchy. They have real respect for each other, and that's why they called sir. For example, it was all first name basis in Walmart. In ITC, everybody's sir, even if somebody. And I used to call for my entire time in ITC, a lot of people who were junior to me in my rank, but it was always sir because they were older in age. So then I realized that it is not about the culture of the company because it's driven by hierarchy. It's more driven out of the respect, and that's how it's more of a family kind of and that's how India operates, right? You're responsible as a stewardship. That's one of the values, because it's the shareholders' money, and all of us are managers, and the way you manage it is like you manage your own business. So that's where the roots of entrepreneurship kind of came into me from ITC. I would say it was more of intrapreneurship rather than entrepreneurship. So you were given freedom, you were given the money, and you were given all that is required to operate. Obviously, checks and balances. You have superiors, you have people you are reporting into, but you learn a lot. So I would say, um, starting my journey as an entrepreneur, I would say maybe 40-50% came from Walmart, and 40-50% came from ITC. Great. And that's how I'm here.
Yeah. So, having worked in the corporate life, now you just mentioned that you got your streak for entrepreneurship from these two companies. Why did you switch to entrepreneurship in the first place? Why corporate to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that's very interesting. See, it's like you don't switch. It's something like you are born with, right? You can't, like they say, you can't cultivate a leader, you can't make a leader, you're born a leader. Just like that, you have got this flip in your brain. You're a little bit crack. And that's how all entrepreneurs are.
The कीड़ा is there always.
कीड़ा is there. वो दिमाग में रहता है और वो शुरू से था.
Okay.
So right from the time I was a student, I was organizing, rock concerts, and I was doing tuitions and giving tuitions, those kind of things. So the idea of making money by myself, by my own efforts with my own time, was always there. So it is not like it suddenly occurred to me that I should be an entrepreneur. And I'm sure that if you ask like 100 entrepreneurs, out of that 90 will say the same thing. So you are either born or you are not. So you may be entrepreneurial, which is a different thing, but to be an entrepreneur, it is inborn. Now the drivers, immediate drivers were, when you are working for somebody else, you can keep working your whole life, but then your son or your daughter has to start from the same level as you started. So there
If
is
they
no
join the company.
yeah. I mean any other company also. If they join corporate, let's say, right? So there's no legacy. Second thing is the freedom. Not only the freedom to do what you want, but the freedom to fail.
Right.
I will do whatever I want. I'll fail. I am responsible. I will be successful. I am responsible. So that freedom is very, very important. And for me, freedom is the most important virtue of human existence.
Amazing.
If you are working for, I'm not talking about a remuneration. In the end, you're selling your time, right? And all of us know that we have limited amount of time in our lives, right? So the most precious commodity that you can ever have of you or you have, you are saying, I'm signing up for selling that to somebody else. Now what you're getting in return for that, it may be anything. It could be $1,000, $5,000, $100,000, ₹5, doesn't matter. आपने एंड में यू हैव टेकन अ कॉल कि मैं अपना वक्त आपको दूंगा, और फिर उसके साथ आप फुटबॉल खेलो, right? Half of the time you are not working for yourself or for the cause or the objective. You are working for somebody else's fancies. Right? PPT बना रहे हैं बैठ के, तो क्यों बना रहे हो? मतलब I have for the last 5-6 years I've not made a single PPT. In fact, I started my business, अभी तक तो हमने शायद Excel भी ठीक से नहीं बनाया होगा, but obviously to calculate the numbers you can do it on a piece of paper. Excel is more convenient, but नहीं बनाते यार PPT, जरूरत ही नहीं है. But if you ask anybody in the corporate, and same was with me, everybody is continuously making PPTs for what? किस लिए बना रहे हो यार? And so half the time, and it's not only about me, everybody in the organization is working for not the organization itself, but somebody who's above them in the organization. And it applies right from CEO to assistant manager.
Right.
Because somebody else has said this is the way it should be, and that's why I'm doing.
Yeah.
So the productive time that you have, and I'm saying productive is very important because you have a limited lifespan.
Yeah.
So 70-80 years is general. In that you start being productive, let's say 20-25. So it's end of that you're talking about 35 to 40 years of total productive time.
Right.
उसमें भी आधे से ज्यादा बर्बाद कर दे रहे हो क्योंकि कहीं पीपीटी बना रहे हो, कहीं कुछ कर रहे हो, जिसमें आपको खुद कोई बिलीफ नहीं है और आपके ऊपर जो बैठा है उसको भी कोई बिलीफ नहीं है, लेकिन वो बना रहे हैं क्योंकि सब लोग बना रहे हैं. तो वो मुझे लगता था यार दिस इज criminal waste of my existence on the planet. I should not be doing it. It's not about Walmart, it's not about ITC. Great organizations, learned a lot from them. But I realized that, if I have to do something and be free, then let it be on my own terms.
And that also gives you a piece of stake, the equity part of.
See, if you want to be rich, you can probably get rich in a job, right? If you want to be wealthy, I'm telling you, there's no way. I'm not talking about few people like Satya Nadella or Sundar Pichai and all, but I'm talking about generally, it's impossible to get wealthy through doing a job. It's very, very difficult. Also, there's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. Whatever you can see is being rich. What you cannot see, that is wealth.
Absolutely.
I think it is in some book, it is there,
Yeah.
Right? Psychology of Money, if I'm not wrong. So this really hit me because you can have an iPhone, you can have the fanciest watch and this, but what people can't see, and that is what gives you the power, because you know that you have so much wealth. And also wealth is something when money starts working for you. You are not working for money. That's another big thing that why I wanted to make the switch.
Yeah.
At some point in time, the money has to start working for me rather than me working for money continuously. It's a beautiful definition by Irfan Khan, the actor, in one of the interviews he was said, and again, it became a mantra for me. It is like he says that the guy asked him that, what do you mean by definition of success? What is your definition of success? So he says that the day I don't have to do things that I don't want to do.
Absolutely.
I think that's a wonderful definition of being successful. If you don't have to do what you don't want to do, then you are successful.
Unfortunately, a lot of people in the world are tied up working somewhere to make ends meet. They're forced to do things. They don't have an option. The moment they have enough money to move on, I think then they decide whether they want to continue this job or do something else.
So I'll say something controversial, maybe a little bit. See, you have to treat the job like a curse that you need to kind of go through. It says when you're going through hell, just keep going. So you take it like that, because the day one when you start working, you will not have like millions of dollars or crores of rupees and be wealthy.
Right.
But when you realize that, you've seen the movie Shawshank Redemption, right? One of my favorite movies.
Right.
So the guy is digging the jail for I think 18 or 20 years. So you dig the jail for 18, 20 years. But one day I will be free. So that thought of being free one day and as soon as possible should never leave your mind. That ultimate goal has to be there, that I'll keep digging this jail, and I'm in. Because the thing is, the worst part about being in such a jail is that you can't see the bars. So you have this illusion of being free, but you are actually in the jail, right?
Absolutely.
So once you realize I'm in jail, I have to keep digging, and one day I'll be on the beach in the Pacific and have my own restaurant. There's the last dialogue, I think, in the movie also.
Also more, when you're working for someone, it's more like you're just a small player there.
Yeah.
What is your view?
So it's a very interesting question. I'm a writer, as you know. I write stories and stuff like that. So in that every story or a novel, there's a protagonist,
Right.
right? And that protagonist is the hero of the story,
Yeah.
right? Now let's say आप छोला कुलचा बेच रहे हो, ठीक है, लेकिन आप उस छोला कुलचा बेचने का जो ठेला लगा हुआ है उसके हीरो आप हो ना, राइट? आप शैम्पू बेच रहे हो, आपका नंबर 1 शैम्पू की कंपनी में आप काम करते हो, शैम्पू बेचते हो, अरबों रुपए का शैम्पू बेचते हो, मिलियंस ऑफ डॉलर्स है उसका, 5,000 करोड़ का टर्नओवर है, आप चले जाओगे ना, कोई और बेचेगा.
You're not indispensable.
You are not. Plus, like in a novel, you have one hero but many other characters.
Yeah.
अगर हीरो मर गया तो कहानी खत्म हो जाएगी. अगर कोई भी साइड कैरेक्टर मर गया, हमारे सीरियल में सबको मारते रहते हैं ना, कन्फ्यूज जिसकी डेट नहीं मिली उसको मार दिया, तो
फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा.
तो फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. अगर कोई साइड कैरेक्टर मर गया, कोई कैरेक्टर मर गया, तो आप फिर भी देखते रहोगे, बिकॉज द हीरो इज स्टिल देयर, बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली इट इज द फाइट ऑफ द हीरो. आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग द स्केल. लाइक आई सेड, छोले कुलचे की दुकान लगा रहे हो, मूंगफली बेच रहे हो, हलवाई की दुकान है, रेस्टोरेंट है, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. लेकिन छोटी है या बड़ी है कहानी, उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता. आप अपनी कहानी का खुद हीरो. यू आर द कैप्टन ऑफ योर ओन शिप.
एक किरदार नहीं हो,
एक किरदार नहीं हो आप. और उसके अंदर आपको लगेगा बहुत बड़ी कंपनी है, वो है. जिस दिन वो कंपनी का कार्ड आपका हट गया ना, फिर आपको पता चलेगा असलियत क्या है.
Absolutely.
लोग आपको फोन नहीं उठाएंगे. मेरा उठा लेते हैं.
आपने अभी डिसाइड कर लिया कि एम्प्लॉयमेंट से यू हैव टू शिफ्ट टू बिजनेस. हाउ डिफिकल्ट वाज द ट्रांजिशन? आपने क्या प्लान किया था कि क्या क्या रेडी रखना है आपकी फैमिली या कॉर्पस सो ऑन सो फोर्थ बिफोर मेकिंग दिस ट्रांजिशन?
So, for me, and I'll tell for everybody also who wants to make the transition, see, there was a survey done in the US, is that who were the most successful startups or the businesses, 60 to 70% of the businesses which were very, very successful are the ones which were created by founders who were doing it on the side.
Okay.
So you keep doing your job and you keep having a side hustle.
Side hustle.
Side hustle.
Yeah.
Because it gives you the freedom and the money to kind of pump it into, because day one the revenue is not going to come.
Right.
Secondly, you are doing a POC in that business. It may fail. You may want to do another one or another one. So then your family income is coming. That pressure is not there. Because even if it is taking longer time than usual, let's say you thought that 6 months में ये business चल जाएगा, 1 साल लग गया, 1.5 साल लग गया, 2 साल लग गया, आपका सैलरी तो आ रहा है ना, ठीक है. So also when you are under pressure, तो आप बहुत सारी गलतियां करोगे ना, जल्दी जल्दी करने की कोशिश करोगे. यहाँ पे ऐसा कोई प्रेशर नहीं है. ऑब्वियसली प्रेशर है, बिकॉज व्हेन यू आर वर्किंग एंड डूइंग अ साइड हसल, मतलब मैंने एक बार पहले भी 2010, 11, 12 में ट्राई किया था, which failed. We'll talk about that also. So don't be afraid of working from 16 to 18 hours in a day, 14 minimum. If you are building something and somebody tells me कि 14 घंटे से कम में बिल्ड हो जाएगा, बॉस, you are wrong. 14 घंटे, 16 घंटे बहुत नॉर्मल है. एंड आई एम सेइंग 24/7, 7 डेज अ वीक. होता ही नहीं है. आप यूनिवर्स में कुछ हिलाने की कोशिश कर रहे हो ना, यूनिवर्स आपके कहने से, आपकी इच्छा से नहीं हिलेगा, राइट? यू आर नॉट द ओनली वन हु वांट्स टू डू बिजनेस. कंपटीशन भी है ना, मार्केट भी है ना, गवर्नमेंट भी है, कैपिटल भी है, लोग भी हैं, रिसोर्सेज भी है, बहुत चीजें हैं ना, और मार्केटिंग भी. आप सब कुछ करने की कोशिश कर रहे हो, और ये सब करने के टाइम पर आपके पास वो कंपनी के अनलिमिटेड रिसोर्सेज नहीं है ना. अगले महीने की सैलरी आपको डिपॉजिट करनी है ना. सो द बिगेस्ट चेंज दैट आई सॉ एंड एवरीबडी विल सी, कि 30 तारीख को एसएमएस आ जाता है, राइट? देयर इज अ वेरी फेमस कोट बाय नसीम तालेब. ही सेज द 3 बिगेस्ट एडिक्शंस इन द वर्ल्ड आर कार्बोहाइड्रेट्स, कोकेन एंड मंथली सैलरी. अगर आपको इन तीनों की लत लग गई तो इससे निकलना बहुत ही मुश्किल है. अगर सैलरी 30 तारीख को आ रही है, आप कुछ भी झेल जाओगे. आपका बॉस आपको गाली दे दे, आपकी बेइज्जती कर दे, आप कोई काम ना करो, आपको लगे मैं दिन भर खाली बैठा रहता हूँ, मैं अपना जिंदगी बर्बाद कर रहा हूँ. लेकिन 30 तारीख को जिस दिन वो एसएमएस आता है ना, आप सारे दुख दर्द भूल जाते हो. द ट्रांजिशन दैट हैपेंस is there. You are waiting for the 30th or 31st for the SMS to come. Here you have to make sure that those 40 or 50 or 100 or 10 SMS go on first.
to all your employees. Yeah.
To all your employees, whosoever is working, and that is the pressure, that is the stress. You will not take your salary, but make sure that everybody else gets paid. How did you, other than
Looking at side hustle and even ensuring that you have to pay the salaries of all your employees on time, how did you plan for sufficient savings?
So just like I said that you're responsible for others, who are employed with you, you also have a responsibility towards your family.
Right.
You signed up for that.
Right.
So just because आपके दिमाग में कीड़ा आया कि नहीं मुझे करना है तो आप छोड़ छाड़ के चलो भाई तो. So as long as you can make sure that there's food on the table, there's shelter above your head, and your lifestyle does not get compromised. You're allowed to talk about alcohol on this show.
Please go.
So my simple thing was, personally, मैं सिंगल मॉल्ट पीता हूँ यार, ब्लेंडर पे पीने लगा हूँ, क्या फर्क पड़ता है? I'm talking about a brand, but yeah, still. So as long as you're ready to make these kind of compromises, that my lifestyle may get a little bit affected, but still I'm not going to give up on my dream.
Right.
But then the people in your family, your kids, your wife, they have not signed up for this.
Yeah.
तो उनको मत बोलो कि तुम अभी लाइफस्टाइल कंप्रोमाइज, ऑटो से जाओ, बस पकड़ लो, ये कर लो, बिकॉज उन्होंने ये साइन अप नहीं किया है. And I believe it is not very difficult. If you're planning for it for 20, 25 years, 10 years, 15 years, if you're working, you can always build up a corpus.
Got it.
Right? And then make sure that some amount of money comes. You may have a house on rent, this and that.
And now, having decided to go into entrepreneurship, why restaurant?
So restaurant is not the only business I am in. So that's one kind of
You also run the software
clarification.
business.
Yeah. So restaurant is something that all of us are very passionate about food, right? It is the first relationship with anything else when we enter this world, mother's milk, and then home cooked food and all that. So food is something very intrinsic to our sensorial experience in this world. And when you talk about passion, I come from a city called Lucknow, as you know, and I'm very passionate about the culture of that city, the way people talk, the way people, do things. And I really love that culture. And I always used to miss, I came, like I told, 2001 to Bangalore, and I used to miss that. The culture of Bangalore is also fabulous. I mean, one thing I love about the city, apart from the weather, which all of us love, is the people.
Yeah.
Wonderful people in this city. And that's why I decided to make it my home. But I used to still miss that culture. And somewhere I wanted to bring that, a piece of that culture into Bangalore. And so that people in Bangalore, whom I also love, are kind of experience that, And somewhere I find that both cities, have a very common DNA. I'm saying something which is a little bit doesn't sound very intuitive, but you look at it Bangalore also still, we have been there for a long time. While all the MNCs, IT, this, that, we are talking about big money flowing into Bangalore, becoming a big city. I've seen myself from 40, 50 lakh to 1.5 crore, whatever the population is right now. There is still that DNA of a, laid back pensioners town.
Yeah.
Right? If you go to Lucknow, it's still the same. Most of the people are government servants and laid back, the Nawabi culture. So the DNA of both the cities is very similar. Chill out है, मतलब अभी भी बैंगलोर भी chill out है और लखनऊ भी chill out है. That has got probably a more of a Nawabi tone to it. This has got a more colonial British tone to it. But people, if you look at it, they are very, very similar.
Right.
So I thought that kind of the famous Nawabi culture, the Lucknowi culture, if I bring it here, then people will experience it and love it. And that's exactly what has happened. I'm so happy that it did. So that was the idea. Food is obviously incidental to the whole experience of the culture. And yeah.
What is the first thing that I need to focus on when it comes to a restaurant?
So if you do not have conviction on the food, or that you are going to bring something unique, in terms of the taste and the flavor, or something which is where you have got a selfish disadvantage, so to say, or a comparative advantage, so to say, where something unique you are going to put on the table, right?
Okay.
Don't go into it, because then in the end, what are you selling? It's the food.
Yeah.
So if you're not sure that you can first of all have something differentiated as an offering, something unique as an offering, and then if you cannot do it consistently, So एक दिन बहुत अच्छी बिरयानी बना ली, एक दिन कूड़ा बना दिया, तो वो नहीं चलेगा.
Yeah.
Because food is again something that you know take inside your body, right? So people are very conscious. आपको ये लगे कि यार मैं कोई बहुत अच्छा खाना कुछ डिफरेंट बना सकता हूँ और उसको मैं बार बार लगातार दे सकता हूँ, राइट? तो पहला मेरे हिसाब से तो रेस्टोरेंट में जब आप डिसाइड करो तो पहली चीज बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आपको खाने से प्यार होना चाहिए और वो कुछ अच्छा बना के दे सकते हो. We have this thing, a plaque in our restaurant. It says, you know, good food is the foundation of genuine happiness. It's a quote by a French yeah, chef. But you have to genuinely believe that, you know, good food is the beginning of genuine happiness, and you are going to serve that genuine happiness to people. So, food. So, when you want to start food.
So, like someone moves in from corporate to self-employment or business, they are more like the hero. Similarly, here the food should be the hero. The
food has to be the hero. Yeah, ambience and all. I see a lot of, again, not criticizing anybody. I mean, we see in Indiranagar, I call it the graveyard of restaurants, right? Every day somebody's opening, and I feel so bad that people spend crores of rupees, you know, life savings, and then the restaurant has to close down. Yeah. What they're trying to do is something genuine, something authentic, something good, but they don't understand how this whole, you know, thing works, and they end up losing their savings, or probably savings is one thing. It's still money, you know, their dream. Yeah. They a dream is killed, and that is a
dream is killed primarily because they're not focusing more on the food but on all other things.
Yeah, so because आप कहीं पर भी ना, and you can see it in Lucknow if you go, there are these small lanes and by lanes and all that. तो 100-150 साल से बना रहे हैं वो एक जगह छोटा सा वो उसी में, और दिन भर सुबह लाइन लगती है, शाम तक बिक जाता है. कुछ कुछ लोग तो हैं जो मतलब 7 बजे शुरू 5 बजे शुरू करें, 7 बजे तक everything is over sold. Right. And they have this thing they come, and every city has these kind of things, right? Very true, sir. Now that you are telling me, I can relate to this. Don't believe, in Bangalore, I go to a specific restaurant. I love biryani, and I go to a specific restaurant called the Hyderabadi Biryani House. Very ordinary ambience, great biryani. Consistently, they deliver on it. I've been going there for last 14 years, averaging weekly once. It's roughly around 700 times. I've never been to any other restaurant. नहीं है तो इतने बिरयानी खाते हो देख करके. Weekly once without missing it for 14 years. It's phenomenal. I think you're right in terms of getting the food right. Yeah. Ambience and other things can be taken care of. Because जो कंसल्टेंट्स होते हैं या जो लोग ज्ञान देते हैं या जो लोग दूसरे रेस्टोरेंट लोग देखते हैं, वो एम्बियंस पे बहुत खर्चा कर देते हैं. मैं नहीं कह रहा एम्बियंस पे खर्चा मत करो आप, बट you know, creating this whole ambience and this whole lighting and this, you know, when you enter you'll feel like this and all that is fine. मैं सब कुछ कर दूं कि आप लखनऊ में एंटर करो, अवध में आ गए हो, या खाना खाने पे लगे यार ये क्या है, right? Correct. So it is very important to make food the hero, and then the ambience and the service and this and the whole experience has to go along with it. So it's like, you know, वो मुन्ना भाई है, बाकी सब सर्किट है. मुन्ना भाई में कॉम्प्रोमाइज करोगे तो फिर गड़बड़ होगा. Now got your point on the food being the core. So when you started the restaurant, what did you? I mentioned saying that it's Rumi Restaurant. Why Rumi, and what is the core food there being offered? So Rumi as a name, first of all, it comes from a poet Rumi, and there is also a Rumi Darwaza in Lucknow, which is a symbol of our region. And I wanted the name to be very small, short, and sweet. And the phonetics have to be right. You know, when you say Rumi, it sounds very nice, very romantic, right? So अगर आप देखो ना, छोटा सा नाम होता है, मेरे को दावत लखनऊ, आधे लोग तो बोल ही नहीं पाएंगे. हाँ, तो रूमी मतलब रूमी चलते हैं, रूमी से खाना मंगा लेते हैं, रूमी में गए थे, रूमी जा रहे हैं, रूमी से आ रहे हैं, तो it becomes like very easy to kind in the parlance, you know, in everyday conversation. So that is one, apart from the fact that it comes from the name of the poet and the symbol of the word. So that is the name. The second thing is about the food is you don't get good North Indian food in Bangalore. Okay. There are a lot of places, like I said, उनका ambience होगा, board लगा होगा, वो होगा. But actually अगर आप North India, खासकर लखनऊ या दिल्ली से हो और आप खाओगे तो आपको लगेगा यार खाने में मजा नहीं आया, और कई जगह तो बहुत ही बर्बाद होता है. What is the core food being offered here? Specialities of so core is जो भी लखनऊ में, जैसे आपने सुना होगा ना, टुंडे कबाबी होता है. वो टुंडे कबाबी is basically the guy fell from the roof और उसका हाथ टूट गया था. So people started calling टुंडे टुंडे. So it became a brand. It maybe 100 years ago or something, right? So it's basically mutton galoti kebab, which is there. which is a combination of minced mutton and papaya and various other spices and all that, which is most popular dish. Then you have all kind of kebabs are there, kalmi kebab, this kebab, atish barra. So anything and everything that you can think of delicious in non-vegetarian food is there. We also have vegetarian food. But the whole idea was to bring the whole culinary experience from our and let people experience it here. Now we just introduced something like Nihari, which is I don't think many, maybe 3 4 restaurants serve it. I do not know in Bangalore, but not many people serve, and it's a very very nice dish in terms of the flavors, in terms of the richness of the dish and all that. And we have a railway mutton curry. We have Avdi biryani. I don't know if you are fond of biryani. Maybe we can go together. Yeah. So
And do you have that's the Lucknow biryani?
yeah, that's the Lucknow. So it's very different from the Andhra biryani and the Done biryani and the, Ambur biryani. They're all fine. I mean, everybody comes from a different place and everybody loves their version of biryani. That's the beauty of biryani. But they are all very spicy, if you ask me. And this biryani is very flavorful, very rich, but very subtle in terms of the spices.
So just curious to know as to does Lucknow have a
yeah, that's again a controversy of sorts.
Okay.
But not really a controversy. If you go to people who are in Lucknow for a very long time, let's say old Lucknowites, they will say there is nothing concept of biryani. There's only pulao in Lucknow. And now that everybody is serving biryani, Lucknow biryani is also there. But originally, if you look at one of the most authentic books on Lucknowi culture, especially food, is Gujista Lucknow, which is by Abdul Rahim Sharar. It's a book written in something around 1850 or 1860s like that. कहीं पर उसमें जिक्र नहीं है कि बिरयानी नाम की कोई चीज होती है. So it was only pulao. Still, a lot of people in Lucknow call it pulao. Lot of people. And a lot of people who are from the younger generation with exposed to different kind of cultures. But if you go to old Lucknow and old people, they will still say it pulao.
Okay.
Right.
So now having looked at the first important item that you mentioned, which is food, which is the core, what should I look at next after this?
So once you're serving the food, then obviously the ambience in which you are serving
at the place,
the location, which is very important in terms of the footfalls, which are if you because see in the food business, very important to kind of build your brand on people coming and having their food inside the restaurant because it's served fresh, it is hot, the flavors are perfect. Because once you pack it in a box and somebody's carrying it for half an hour, I think a lot of it kind of gets compromised, right?
Yeah.
So if you're building a brand based on food and walk-ins and people dining in, having a good time with their friends and family, I think location becomes very important. Then once they are inside the restaurant, then they should feel or get transformed into that atmosphere or that.
Before that, in terms of finalizing a location, are there any tips that you have?
So location, see, I'm not talking about QSR or cloud kitchen and all that. If you are opening a restaurant and if you can, always open the restaurant on the street which has normal, natural walk-ins, right? Possibly free flowing traffic. Not only that, also open in a street. For example, we are on 12th Main, which has a lot of restaurants. In fact, if you see the whole line on both sides, there are only restaurants. Right. So 80% will be restaurant, 20% will be other things. Because people will come to that place from all over the city to enjoy food. Now, they may have your food or somebody else's food, but this place is for food, right? It is difficult to exist and survive and fight in this market because the rentals are very high. There's so much competition. Why should somebody come to you? They will go to another restaurant. All that is fine. But if you can survive and fight there, then you can open any part of the city and you'll still be successful because that's the hub of it. Right?
Sir, now, so after having looked at food, location, what are the other things that I need to focus on?
See, other things, if you have a restaurant, is what part of it will be kitchen? Okay. How much space will you give to the kitchen? And typically, if you are looking at a Mughlai kind of a cuisine, it will easily take like 1/3 or 1/4 of your total space, depending on how much space you have. But do not compromise on the kitchen because it has to be free flowing because when you have a lot of people and you have a lot of orders, the people have to be able to move in, right? You need freezers, you need tandoors, you need so many equipment, right? And then the serving dishes and all those. So the kitchen and serving area has to be quite well laid out, well planned.
Part is basically you're talking about entire layout as such.
So I'm talking starting from the kitchen.
Okay.
But then once you can't come out of the kitchen, also you are renting out space at astronomical prices. So I mean, don't go for aesthetics in a manner that you end up compromise कर दिया पूरा, मतलब जगह ही नहीं है, 4 सोफे लगा दिए, देखने में बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, बट खाएंगे कैसे लोग, राइट? आपको एंड में वो 2 4 5 लाख जो भी आप रेंट दे रहे हो वो निकालना है, सैलरी जो निकालनी है. तो it does not have to kind of compromise on the privacy of people, or their comfort and all that, but at least try to maximize. And in that sense, I think avoid doing round tables and any fancy sofas and stuff like that, because then you're not making the use of the space. We all know ना, square में rectangle में करोगे ज्यादा चीजें लोग fit हो जाएंगे उतनी ही space में, और धीरे धीरे when you start you will feel कि ठीक है रेस्टोरेंट खाली है, लो आराम से. But the day you have to work on the turnaround, because I've seen those things, and I've seen means every Saturday Sunday I see it, because you have like 60 70 people inside and they are having their food, and there are 20 30 people waiting outside.
So what you're suggesting is a fine balance between aesthetics versus commerce as well.
Yeah, absolutely. You do not have to kind of go down on the creativity or aesthetics part of it, but then don't get carried away. Look at the commerce, because end में तो पैसा आना चाहिए ना, अगर business चलाना है तो. So aesthetics is good, creativity is good, but end of the day you should have enough space to feed enough number of people. Turnaround time has to be faster. 4 to 5 times, 6 times. We sometimes on Sunday हम लोग 6 7 बार table turn कर देते हैं. So it is a Mughali cuisine, or let's say a Nawabi cuisine or Avdi cuisine. उसमें हम फास्ट फूड की तरह काम कर रहे हैं. राइट? तो फास्ट फूड की तरह काम करने के लिए वहां पे प्लेट पे मूव करने के लिए भी जगह चाहिए, फर्नीचर के बीच में भी जगह चाहिए, किचन में भी जगह चाहिए. इट हैज टू रन लाइक अ क्लॉकवर्क.
So the entire layout should be planned in a way that it can handle the peak hour traffic. Both in the kitchen, floor. Once you started up the restaurant, what are the things that you employed to bring in traffic to the restaurant?
See, one very important point is, as in restaurant or any other business, you have to keep breathing. What I mean is that you have to be there. We've all seen those restaurants now, especially in old cities. You'll see, even in Bangalore, MTR. I mean, if you are there for 100 years, 60 years, 50 years, you're still surviving. First, you're serving something that makes sense to people and it's good, right? That's how you're surviving. Secondly, enough number of people have had that experience, have tasted your food, right? So, पहली चीज तो आपको मतलब मरना नहीं है, जिंदा रहना है. रेस्टोरेंट चलना चाहिए, उसके लिए वो कुछ चीजें जो करनी है बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. आपको सरवाइव करना है, अच्छा खाना खिलाना है, और अगर आप लगातार ये चीज करते रहोगे तो धीरे 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 लोग बढ़ते जाएंगे. So when we started, obviously we had very few people first month, second month, third month. Now we have a database of some 10-15,000 people who already had food at Rumi. Now typically, let's say a table is 4 to 5 people, so 75,000 to 1 lakh people have already had food in the 3 years. कोई तो वापस आएगा ना उसमें, अपने को 70 लोगों को खिलाना है. तो सबसे बड़ी बात है कि आप सस्टेन करिए लॉन्ग टर्म के लिए. देन ऑब्वियसली देयर आर मार्केटिंग टेक्निक्स. फॉर एग्जांपल, रेडियो हैज डन वेरी वेल फॉर अस. तो रेडियो पे एडवर्टाइज कर सकते हो, उतना महंगा नहीं है, थोड़ा सा महंगा है, बट एक सर्टेन टर्नओवर के बाद शायद अफोर्ड कर सकते हो. और इन्फ्लुएंसर्स वर्क वेरी वेल.
Okay.
And I used to think that, what is the value and how this whole thing works. And then we started inviting people, we started collaborating. So there is a need for the food bloggers in Bangalore.
Got it.
You understand why? Because Monday to Friday, everybody is vlogging. Or Saturday, Sunday, nobody wants to cook. And everybody wants to go out.
Right.
Now, everybody wants to go out is one thing. But सब लोग को अलग जगह जाने का है ना. हर बार एक ही जगह थोड़ी जाएंगे. तो हर आदमी अलग अलग इन्फ्लुएंसर को या फूड ब्लॉगर को फॉलो कर रहा है कि यार मैं अगले वीक कहाँ जाऊं. पीपल आर, इट्स अ वेरी गुड डिस्कवरी मैकेनिज्म. Not only because they are recommending, but they are also kind of shooting the place. They are talking about the food, how they felt about it. People are commenting on their reels or posts, whatever it is, what was their experience. So it is it's a mechanism that works very well for the consumer, the person who's coming to eat the food, the restaurant owner, and the food blogger.
Okay.
Because nothing can exist for a very long time if it is not serving any purpose. So if the food bloggers are there, they are serving a very, very important purpose in the city of Bangalore. I don't know about other places, but in Bangalore, you can have your own Instagram page. As you keep on building the audience, people will follow that. You can keep announcing some new dishes, or we also do some events where we call people. We did some one Dastan Wo event, which is very, very popular. I've had so many requests for people asking that when Himanshu is coming again, when are we going to have Dastan Wo again. So also differentiate in terms of, for your Instagram page, for example, what America does wonderfully well, वो पहले अपना कल्चर बेचते हैं, बाद में आप उनका खाना खाते हो. पहले अपना कल्चर, फिर उनका कपड़ा पहनते हो.
मैकडीज हो या
कुछ भी हो, सबसे पहले उनका कल्चर आता है. You've seen somebody having burger in a movie, and then McDonald came. 2000 early McDonald came, or 90s late.
Yeah.
उसके पहले हम सब लोगों ने पिक्चरों में देखा हुआ तो बर्गर खा रहे हैं, पिज्जा खा रहे हैं, बाद में वो आया है. सबके साथ वही है कि मतलब एक लाइफस्टाइल है, एक कल्चर है. वो लिवाइस देख लो ना आप, जीन्स सबसे पॉपुलर आइटम प्रॉब्ली ऑफ क्लोथिंग ऑन द प्लेनेट. 1995 90 के पहले कोई जीन्स पहनता नहीं था हिंदुस्तान में यार. राइट. 2000 के बाद एक्चुअली हाउ मेनी ब्रांड्स इन 2000 आल्सो प्रॉब्ली देयर वाज नो ब्रांड्स ऑफ जीन्स. अभी कितने जीन्स, सब लोग जीन्स पहन रहे हैं.
From torn clothes to jeans to now torn jeans.
Yeah. So the important lesson here is basically you first sell your culture, tell about your culture, and then come to the food or whatever else you are trying to kind of build. Have that bridge with the customer. Then you can peddle different merchandise. ना आज ये ले लो, आज वो ले लो, आज वो ले लो.
लखनवी culture, food.
पहले वो culture. तो अगर आप हमारा Instagram page भी देखोगे, maybe my instructions are like every fourth or fifth post or third post has to be about food. But you can't just keep putting the pictures of food, this shot, that shot. अरे यार, you have 20, 30, 40 dishes. उसको अलग अलग एंगल से शूट कर. So there is a fatigue. People say ठीक है वो अच्छा, वो ठीक है हमने खाया. You will not even register. But if you have a shairi there, or if you have a monument that you're talking about, if you have Dastan Goi there, if you have event that is happening,
you're educating the customer.
So you're educating. And I mean, as a follower on Instagram, why should I follow you?
Yeah.
तुम रोज कबाब की फोटो लगाते हो सुबह सुबह. मतलब आई नो हाउ मटन ग्लोटी कबाब लुक्स ना. तुम सुबह सुबह रोज फोटो क्यों? कभी ठीक है आपने महीने एक बार लगा दिया, कुछ के बारे में लिख दिया, कुछ बता दिया, ठीक है. कुछ लोग नए भी हैं, उनको भी पता चलेगा.
Is it why you also get singers to your place who come over?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. So the whole idea there is that, let's say on Friday or Saturday evening, you want to relax, you want to chill, you want to hear some old songs, some new ones, and somebody is strumming on a guitar. So it's not very loud. It's just one guy or a girl, who's strumming a guitar, singing songs that people love. They sing along and all that. The whole idea is to kind of make it a wholesome place for the family to enjoy, or for the couples to enjoy, or even we see a lot of boys coming in groups of 5 or 6. They love the food, they enjoy. And we never thought that teenagers will love our food so much.
Moving on from here, how is it working with food aggregators like Zomato, Swiggy?
There's a good aspect to it, and there's a very bad aspect to it. Okay. I use the word very consciously and very deliberately, I should say. Okay. Because see, what happens is with the food aggregators, you get that initial kick because the proof of product market fit kind of a thing. You start getting orders. You're feeling okay. Now I'm getting 10 orders, 5 orders, 50 orders, 100 orders on a daily basis and all that. So that initial kick to at least know that your food people are liking, they are ordering. So that part happens. But if you look at the whole margin structure the way it is, okay, I don't think it will ever work, or at least now it doesn't work for the restaurant here. Okay. I mean, you give some 28 to 30% and the platform fee. Then you have to give another discount and 50% to the customer. We all use coupons, right? Yeah. So that is another 10-15%. Then they talk about discovery. So there are 5,000, 10,000 restaurants Zomato, Swiggy पे. आपका ऐड नहीं चलेगा, कोई कैसे जानेगा आपको, तो आपको चलाना ही चलाना है. वो चलाओगे तो another 15% goes there. So you are already talking about 30. 60 तो चला गया. 60 चला गया, 40 आया. Simple maths है ईश्वर, बहुत simple maths है. और if I'm saying something wrong, anybody can challenge me in the comments, or I'm happy to have that conversation because फायदा तो मेरे को ही होगा ना. हो सकता है मैं कुछ मिस कर रहा हूँ, पैसा बनने लगे. So 60 is already gone. I'll say plus or minus 5% here and there. अगर आप अच्छा खाना खिला रहे हो, अच्छे ingredients, अच्छे raw material यूज कर रहे हो, इनफैक्ट हम रॉ मटेरियल भी हाइपर प्योर से लेते हैं, वो भी अच्छे इंग्रेडिएंट ही है, और बाकी बाहर से भी लेते हैं, वो भी हमारे सारे मसाले लखनऊ से आते हैं, बहुत रिच फूड है। किसी का उतना रिच नहीं भी है, आई एम सेइंग 30 to 35% तो रॉ मटेरियल कॉस्ट हो ही जाएगी, राइट? हाँ, कॉस्ट ऑफ गुड सोल्ड, करेक्ट। तो आप देखो ना कि 60 के ऊपर 30-35 मतलब 95% आप पहुंच गए ना। इसमें अभी आपको सैलरी देनी है, आपका रेंटल है, आपके बहुत सारे और सारी सारी कॉस्ट है, राइट? तो हाउ विल यू रन द प्लेस? You're already in the negative. And that comes back to the point of so many restaurants, the graveyard of restaurants being closed. Because most of the people, again, in this business, it's my assumption maybe, but जितने लोगों से मैंने बात की है, मुझे एक फील आता है कि लोग पीएनएल करते ही नहीं है। आप बस खुश हो रहे हो, आज बंदा आ रहा है, बाइक पर और लेके चला जा रहा है, बंदा आ रहा है लेके चला जा रहा है।
Will it work? This aggregator business will work more for a cloud kitchen than a fine dine? More likely? They're better off?
Probably.
Okay.
But then again, with the kind of cost structure I spoke about, they also have to be very, very sure about their every cost element that goes into it. Because the only thing that I am finding that where they will have a little bit of advantage, where even a full service restaurant, dine-in restaurant also has an advantage. I'll tell you in a moment about it. उनका रेंटल कम होगा कि वो कहीं से भी ऑपरेट कर सकते हैं, बट दैट इज द ओनली थिंग जो नहीं है। बाकी सब कुछ है ना, बाकी सारे सैलरी उनको भी देना है, ये सब कुछ उनको भी करना है, प्लेटफॉर्म भी उनको भी देना है ना। लेकिन जो डाइन इन बिजनेस उसमें बहुत बड़ा एडवांटेज है किशोर, एंड दैट्स व्हाई वी आर स्टिल हियर एंड सर्वाइविंग एंड थ्राइविंग, बिकॉज डाइन इन में वो कस्टमर आपका बन रहा है। देखो स्विगी और जोमेटो या कोई भी हो, वो आपको कोई ना कस्टमर का नंबर देता है ना उसका नाम देता है ना, तो आपका कस्टमर से तो कोई कनेक्ट है ही नहीं ना, वो तो उनका कस्टमर है, आपका कस्टमर तो है ही नहीं। यहाँ पे आपका अपना कस्टमर है, वो आ रहा है, आप उसका नंबर भी ले रहे हो, नाम भी ले रहे हो, वो our repeat rates are anywhere between 30 to 40%, right? Whatever may have been my cost of acquisition, either through the influencer or through my own marketing channel, through radio, कुछ भी मेरा cost of acquisition हो, मेरा अगर repeat percentage 30 to 40% है, I'm talking about 3 to 6 months basis पे, right? Yeah, more than that, maybe let's say even a yearly basis. अगर मेरा 40% repeat है, वो कस्टमर मेरा है ना, मेरे पास उसको व्हाट्सएप नंबर है, मुझे पता है वो क्या खा, मैं उसको तरह तरह से कम्युनिकेट कर सकता हूँ, मेरा कोई इवेंट हो रहा है बता सकता हूँ, कोई नई डिश मैंने लॉन्च करी मैं बता सकता हूँ, कोई मुझे उससे डिस्काउंट देना है, राइट? अभी सावन चल रहा है, थोड़ा सा बिजनेस अपना लो है, नॉन वेज लोग कम खाते हैं, मुझे कोई 10% डिस्काउंट देना है, 20, मैं डायरेक्टली कम्युनिकेट कर सकता हूँ, राइट? तो आपका जैसे जैसे आपका डाइन इन बिजनेस बढ़ेगा, जहां पे आपका प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी हाई है, हम लोग 15 से 20%, 10% जो भी डिस्काउंट एवरेज आता है, बट 80% फिर भी आपके पास है ना, उसमें आप प्ले कर सकते हो, राइट? वहां तो आपके पास कुछ है ही नहीं प्ले करने के लिए। तो जैसे जैसे आपका डाइन इन बिजनेस बढ़ता जाएगा, वैसे वैसे आप प्रॉफिटेबिलिटी की तरफ बढ़ते जाओगे। आई एम नॉट श्योर हाउ दिस इक्वेशन वर्क्स फॉर द QSR और द क्लाउड किचन, बिकॉज उनके लिए तो हमेशा एक ही जैसा रहे, कस्टमर तो see if you're running let's say a cloud kitchen, and I'm just maybe jumping the gun, I don't know that business so well, but intuitively I think based on my business sense कि यार अगर 5 साल आप प्रोडक्ट शिप कर रहे हो और आपको यही नहीं पता कि मेरा प्रोडक्ट कौन खरीदता है, प्रॉब्लम है ना, राइट?
So, Ravi, having understood a little bit about restaurant business, I wanted to go back to your personal life. A little bit about your childhood, college days in Lucknow.
So I'm a typical Lucknow boy, so to say, and middle class family. My dad was a scientist in Central Drug Research Institute, and
Central
Drug Research. So he was a scientist, and so very very normal upbringing, very happy upbringing. Everything. We are 3 of us: my elder sister, my brother, and myself. And a lot of things I learned on the street. That's the thing I want to talk about. Everything else was very very normal, but very early in life I kind of discover कि यार जो कुछ भी हो रहा है ना, वो मतलब अपने को खुद सीखना है, सड़क पे हो रहा है, राइट? लोगों से मिलने पे हो रहा है, क्लासरूम में कुछ नहीं होता है। मतलब नाउ आई एम ओल्ड इनफ एंड पास दैट फेज, आई कैन से मैं हार्डली कभी किसी क्लास में कॉलेज में बैठा हूँगा, राइट? बिकॉज आई यूज्ड टू फाइंड इट वेरी बोरिंग, and it's not like my hunger for knowledge. I mean, I have read so many books, but I thought यार जब मैं किताबें खुद पढ़ सकता हूँ और सीख सकता हूँ, तो कोई दूसरा मुझे क्यों पढ़ाएगा? और किताबें पढ़ने का भी मुझे शौक ऐसा रहा कि never kind of restricted myself कि ये पढ़ना है ये नहीं पढ़ना है. You know, I have read everything from spirituality to philosophy to psychology to quantum physics. मतलब कुछ भी मुझे जो चीज चैलेंजिंग लगती है जितनी ज्यादा उतना ज्यादा मैं उसमें घुसता हूँ. एंड आई नो कि मुझे सब कुछ समझ में नहीं आएगा. यू नो, मैंने स्टीफन हॉकिंस की किताब पढ़ी, ब्रीफ हिस्ट्री ऑफ टाइम. मुझे नहीं लगता मुझे 25-30% ज्यादा कुछ समझ में आया होगा उसमें. होता क्या ना, इट्स ब्रेन इज लाइक अ मसल. आप उसको जितना चैलेंजिंग जॉब देते हो तो वो छोटी छोटी प्रॉब्लम फिर आराम से सॉल्व करने लगता है. इज द स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ लॉजिकल थिंकिंग, एंड हाउ यू डिडक्ट द लॉजिक. When you do all this, lot of concepts you don't understand, some of them you understand, but your brain has this kind of muscle, when you take it to the gym every time and you kind of challenge it, stretch it, कि नहीं समझ में आता लेकिन पढ़ो इसको, right? I always say this thing, quotable quote kind of a thing. When you get interested in something, it becomes interesting. Every day, I'm sure you're learning new things and becoming more and more interesting.
Absolutely.
But then you have to give your 120% into that.
True.
आप समुद्र के अंदर गोता लगाओगे ना, कोई ना कोई आप निकाल के ले आओगे कुछ. आप ऊपर ऊपर तैरते रहो, कुछ हाथ में नहीं आने वाला. Superficial level.
You've done really well in corporate life. Now you're running 2 profitable businesses, a software one and the restaurant business. Have you seen failures in life? Have you faced failures?
Yeah, failures. So, matlab, you talk about success, and I'm very happy and grateful to God. But I mean, for every success, I would have probably seen some 10 failures here. The problem is, हमारी society में ना failure को accept करना वो सिखाया नहीं जाता है. हम जब से पैदा होते हैं ना, छोटे बच्चे होते हैं, तब से it is all about coming first in class, in the top 5, right? और फेलियर को इतना नीचे देखा जाता है कि कोई एक्सेप्ट नहीं करना चाहता. मतलब सोसाइटी के सामने तो छोड़ दो, अपने अंदर खुद को भी एक्सेप्ट नहीं करना चाहता कि मैं फेल हो गया, राइट? अगर आप कुछ भी करोगे तो उसके 2 आउटकम हो सकते हैं, या तो आप सक्सेसफुल हो गए या फेलियर हो गए, राइट? होगा ही होगा, नेचुरल है ना. लेकिन अगर आप सक्सेसफुल हो गए तो बहुत अच्छा है. अगर आप फेलियर हो गए तो ना आप खुद को बताओगे, ना एक्सेप्ट करोगे, ना किसी और को बताओगे. आपके घर वाले एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेंगे, आपका मम्मी पापा एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेंगे. मतलब फेलियर इज अ पार्ट ऑफ लाइफ एंड वी हैव टू बी टॉट टू एक्सेप्ट failure.
And you said you had failed multiple times. How did you handle it? What did you go through?
See, I couldn't handle it very well. So, and that's because I'm talking about it, because I didn't know how to handle failure. And it's not about ego or anything else. It's just that I was so driven about the idea of success, which was put inside me by the society, or by myself, I should say, right? So I always used to think that I have to be a CEO and I have to have a large business. I have to do this. So success was something that cannot be compromised for me.
Got it.
And then when I failed, I think around 11, 12, I did my e-commerce business. And in that process, you are not even thinking about the possibility of failure or this not working out. And that, it happened, it didn't work out. For whatever reason, we are too early in the e-commerce game or whatever it is. I put a lot of money of my own into that venture and it failed. And I suffered very badly. So, yeah.
What do you go through in depression?
So there is this very simple, I would say, definition that I came across: a mind that wants to die inside a body that wants to live. And that feeling is continuous from the time you wake up, and you don't sleep most of the times also. Apart from the, heart attack, heart failure, depression is probably a bigger cause of death. Because you cannot live with that feeling continuously. Imagine not being able to, wake up in the morning, wanting to do anything. When I say anything, means not even wanting to get out of the bed. And continuously having that suffering for years together, months together. So, and nobody understands also what you're going through. If you have fever, I can tell, oh, you have fever, you have cough, you have this, you have that. Any kind of a physical ailment, not only the doctor, but in the society also, they will know, they will understand. Nobody can get inside your brain what is happening. Because वो बाहर से तो लगेगा यार बंदे ठीक ठाक ही है ना, आपके अंदर ये चल रहा है लगातार.
Basically, no one was able to recognize that you are low, down,
No,
going through
I mean,
depression?
obviously, my family recognized, my very close friends, my bosses, and they helped me a lot at that point in time. I say 5, 6 people who had to know. I mean, if you're not waking up only and if you're not getting out of your room for days on end, obviously, we will realize there's something wrong. But that's the only set of people. But अभी मुझे लगता है कि बात करना जरूरी है. Because बहुत से लोग जो और एंजाइटी से, पैनिक से, जनरल एंजाइटी डिसऑर्डर से, डिप्रेशन से फेस कर रहे होंगे. बिकॉज उस टाइम में मुझे लगता था यार इससे कोई बाहर निकलता भी है या सब लोग खत्म ही हो जाते हैं. सो somebody coming out of it, that becomes a huge inspiration in front कि यार ये बाहर निकला है. It's like somebody has crossed the English channel. तो मैं भी कर सकता हूँ. तो एक रे ऑफ होप होती है. That's why I'm today probably talking about it, because जो भी ये देखेगा या जिसको भी कहीं से कहीं उस तक पहुंचेगा मैसेज, तो उसको लगेगा नहीं यार हो सकता है. दूसरी चीज जो बहुत बड़ी है वो देयर इज अ वेरी बिग पॉजिटिव साइड टू इट, बिकॉज वंस यू कम आउट ऑफ सच अ थिंग योर होल ब्रेन गेट्स रीस्ट्रक्चर्ड, रीवायर्ड. वो कहते हैं ना एक बार यू गो टू हेल एंड कम बैक, यू आर नॉट अफ्रेड ऑफ एनीथिंग.
You can't go lower than this kind
अब
of
मुझे कोई फर्क ही नहीं पड़ता. बट देन व्हाट हैपेंस, इट इज you don't do so many things in life because you're afraid. But now you're not afraid anymore. And it's not like a sentence you're saying. You really know you're not afraid of anything anymore. Like I said, freedom is the biggest virtue. You are free. Free to do what you want to do in life. There are no constraints.
True.
Like as long as you are breathing, as long as you're walking, you are having a healthy body, healthy mind, every day is a possibility, yeah. And again, I quote Nietzsche. He says something very beautiful. He says, if it doesn't kill me, it makes me stronger.
The channel's name is LSD. Does it resonate with you? And what's your view on LSD as a psychedelic?
I know the full form. Lysergic acid diethylamide, if I'm right. So, I mean, see, there's not much view. It just expands your consciousness. That's what I've read, and I've written a long post on it on my blog also. But I believe that you don't need any external stimulant to kind of you can expand your consciousness, your mind with a lot of other things. So I mean, my personal experience has been very limited. Let me put it like that, but it was good.
Let's get into the rapid fire round.
Oh my god.
Favorite non-fiction book?
It has to be the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, one of my most favorite books.
Okay. Favorite fiction book?
Shantaram by Gregory Davis Roberts.
Are you an early bird or night owl?
I sleep at 11, I wake up at 7, very boring. So I don't know where to place myself.
If you had to eat one type of food for the rest of your life? Khichdi, wow.
Morning, evening, day, night, for years together on an island, wherever it is.
Oh, wow, that's my favorite too. Yeah. City life or countryside?
Countryside. I love the mountains. Yeah. I mean, every 3 to 6 months, I just go to the mountains.
If your life had a theme song, what would it be?
So many of them. I would say Break On Through to the Other Side. It's a number by Doors.
Okay.
So very meaningful lyrics, very nice. Resonates with me a lot.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, do you believe in true love?
You had to ask me this question. So there's these lines by John Elia, very famous share actually. So it says, माना मुझे किसी से मोहब्बत नहीं हुई, माना मुझे किसी से मोहब्बत नहीं हुई, लेकिन यकीन सबको दिलाता रहा हूँ. On a serious note, I believe that love is a glimpse of divinity in our lives. That's the only way we can experience God, if at all, right? So, very specifically, if you believe in God, then you have to believe in love. And if you believe in love, you can believe in God. It's as simple as that.
God. So, going on the same lines, who was your first celebrity crush?
No, first and last, I would say. I mean, not many people will know. Chitrangda Singh, and I still find her very expressive. A lot of praise, very expressive, and that movie Hazaron Khwaishein, your name is right.
KK Menon.
Yeah. Wonderful movie, and I fell in love with that movie as well as with Chitrangda in that movie. So yeah, first and last.
Okay. So if
that's the only celebrity I follow on any social media. Only one celebrity.
Focus.
Focus. Very important.
Yeah. So if you could talk to your younger self, what would be the advice?
Yeah, don't take it seriously. Don't like take life serious, anything seriously. I mean, be serious about your work, about your business, but don't take yourself seriously. It's a circus. All of us are clowns.
Too much of self-importance.
I mean, yeah. I mean, come on, yeah. Just lighten up a little bit and be serious about your work. Be responsible. Be dedicated. But I mean, if it happens, it happens. Doesn't happen, doesn't happen. Yeah. Just move on and do something else. Give you 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you could have dinner with a famous person, dead or alive, Ruskin Bond.
So one of my things is one day I'll just take a flight, just go to Dehradun, Mussoorie and meet him. Obviously, he will not have dinner with me, but if it is possible, I will love to have rum by the fireplace with Ruskin Bond.
Is that the top item on your bucket list?
Yes, one of them.
If you knew you had only 1 year to live, what would you do?
Podcast. No.
Ending on a happy note, sir, what does happiness mean to you?
Happiness is freedom. देखो अगर आप फ्री नहीं हो ना तो आप खुश नहीं हो नहीं सकते मेरे हिसाब से एक प्री कंडीशन है आपको खुशी किसमें मिलती है क्या होता है वो अलग बात है बट एक फ्रीडम तो होनी चाहिए कि मैंने ये किया राइट एटलीस्ट द पॉसिबिलिटी ऑफ हैप्पीनेस comes with the condition of freedom because without freedom there can be no happiness because आप फ्री नहीं हो ना खुश कैसे होएगा पॉसिबल ही नहीं है मेरे हिसाब से
Very, very true. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching the entire episode. Remember, these conversations are just the beginning. It's what you do with these insights that truly matters. If you really love this episode, please share it with at least one person who could benefit out of it. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please share your valuable feedback in the comment section. Also, let us know what resonated with you. Your feedback is valuable to us. Stay curious, and until next time, this is Kishore signing off.